be probably about a 30-minute ceremony. It'll be a quick ceremony on the 24th. So I know Bridget isn't here, so I'm going to call up Big Leah Lasky to read her biography on Private Ezra Blossom from Massachusetts. Leah. You're doing Ezra? Okay, come on up.
Captain Ezra Blossom. Ezra Blossom was born in Yarmouth, Massachusetts. The date of his birth seems to be unclear, but records state that he was 60 or 61 when he died in 1821, so he was born in about 1761. Ezra was a private when he marched the alarm at Bedford in Falmouth in September of 1778. At some point in his service there, he was sent to a new major and was made a captain. He served for just a short time. Ezra married Mehibatul Foster and had several children. One of their children, Mary, was married into the Bloss family, another family of the Revolutionary War patriots. Then they moved north and were some of the first settlers in Monroe County. Ezra owned a large piece of land that went from the center of Brighton over to South Goodman Street in the city of Rochester. Records state that he died in Brighton on August 3, 1821. His wife lived another 13 years after that. By Leah Lasky.
Good job, Leah. Now we have Maddie Kinsella, who researched Private Nathaniel Cummings from Vermont, who served in Vermont.
Nathaniel Cummings was born in 1763. He married and had at least one child, whose name was Whitney. He lived to be about 81 years old. Nathaniel served as a private under Captain Edward Savell for the Vermont militia. After the Revolutionary War, he moved to Genesee Country, where he farmed for 32 years. He then moved to a farm in Irondequoit, where he lived for the last 12 years of his life. He died April 27, 1844, and is buried in the Brighton Cemetery.
Now we have Kayla Richardson, who researched Henry Donnelly, who represented the state of New York.
Henry Donnelly was born on October 2nd, 1763 in Rhode Island. He married Hannah Wells on September 14th, 1786 in Lee, Massachusetts, and had 4 children. Their names were John, Eliezer, George, and Martha. He was a soldier in the Revolutionary War. He served for 2 days in October 1780 on alarm at Saratoga, and also from July 1781 till November 1781 at Fort Plain in Tryon County, New York. Henry Donnelly died April 14, 1837 at age 73 and is buried in the Brighton Cemetery.
Now we have Kate Garitano, who researched John Morse.
John Morse was born on February 25, 1734 in Sherborne, Massachusetts. He was a captain in the militia, a minute man in the Revolutionary War in Massachusetts. He married Joanna Dewey in 1765, and they had 11 children. He lived to be 91 years old. He is buried in the Brighton Cemetery.
Now we have Kelly Kinsella, who researched Job Northrop, who also represented the state of New York.
Job Northrop was baptized August 17th, 1755 in Salem, New York, but early on he moved with his family to Lenox, where he worked on his father's farm. He married Sarah Bennett before 1780 in Lenox, New York, and they had at least one child, Miles.
At this time, he was serving in the Revolutionary War for New York State. By 1793, the family moved to Monroe County near Rochester. He died October 1st, 1830, at the age of 76, and is buried in the Brighton Cemetery.
And finally, little Leah Richardson, who researched Israel Peck, who served in the state of New York.
Israel Peck was born in 1755 in Warren, Rhode Island. He was a private for the Continental Army for 3 years in New York and Massachusetts. He married Sarah Marsh and had 8 children. He lived to be 72 years old and is buried in the Brighton Cemetery.
So these students and members of the CAR will obviously be reading their biography again at our cemetery dedication on August 24th. As a member of the Sons of the American Revolution, a parent rep on the Children of the American Revolution, and as principal of Greece Athena High School, having been born and raised in Greece, it's a privilege to live in this community. And several of my ancestors have deep, rich history and are also buried in the Brighton Cemetery as well, and affiliated with the town of Brighton. And it's a pleasure and honor to give back to the community in this way and to stand beside these students. So we thank you for your time and an opportunity to allow these students to develop and promote their leadership skills. Thank you. I was wondering if we could quickly maybe take a picture of the
Absolutely.
7 kids
Absolutely.
right here in front of you, and then we'll be out of your way.
That's great. While we're setting up, I want to thank you, David. I want to thank all the kids. You did a great job tonight. And what you really did for all of us, and I think everybody at home, is bring these great patriots from a time long, long ago. You brought them to life. And I know I really appreciate that, hearing a little bit about their lives and knowing that, that soldiers, the likes of these, are buried in the Brighton Cemetery. So thank you very, very much for this great presentation. And yes, why don't we get everybody up, and whoever's taking the photo can do that. And while we're getting organized, I've gotten word that we are back streaming live on our YouTube channel. So
I think we should stand up.
do you think we should stand? We can do that? Sure.
Won't help me, I'm sure.
Oh, stand. You can stand.
Oh, I'm not part of the town board, I'm just the attorney.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Very nice. Hey, revolution.
David, you come to the podium for a minute. I'm Jim Vogel. I was the chair for the Veterans Memorial here in Brighton. I think it'd be we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Marianne. Where's Marianne Husser back there?
Yes, she is.
If Marianne could provide you 7 copies of the information to fill out, we should include these good patriots in our memorial right here in Brighton. Brighton Veterans Memorial, we keep building on our computer base all the veterans, men and women who have served this country since the colonial times. And Mary Jo Lamphere, our town historian's here somewhere.
Yeah, I was going to acknowledge
Yeah.
Mary Jo as well.
But this
Thanks,
is something,
Jim.
a base that we keep building. And we have several thousand names, but we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge this team and what they provided, because we have this sheet that you could fill out. Each one of the girls could fill out, and we'll make sure we incorporate that in our database. On the dates, if we have any more information as to when they served, because they mentioned Lexington and the other, and Saratoga, that would be helpful. We have that information on this form and include it right in our database, all right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah.
And I see Mary Ann out in the lobby getting those forms, so that'll be great. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we are going to be starting our open forum now, as we always do at every town board meeting, to give the public an opportunity to speak with us on really any matter that you would like to address, whether it's a matter on the agenda or not. We don't have any public hearings tonight, but if there's anyone that would like to address the board on any matter, I will recognize you. If you would, please come to the podium. State your name and address, if you would, please. Please direct your comments to the board and not to other members of the audience. As always, please be courteous and please keep your comments as concise as you can, and you can always turn in any written comments to our town clerk, Dan Amon, and he will add them to our communications that we're receiving tonight. I would also like to note that, again, if you're watching us from home or streaming live, now that we're back up on our YouTube channel, you too can call in and participate in the open forum by dialing 303-3060. Someone will take your call and relay your question or your comment to us. Again, 303-3060. And for members of our audience that are deaf, you may call our TDD line at 784-5205 to participate in the open forum. 784-5205 for our TDD line. However you reach us, we look forward to hearing your questions and your comments. So would anybody like to address the town board tonight? David, come on up.
Mr. Supervisor, members of the council, my name is David Snyderman. I live at 72 Roby Drive. I will remind the council that I have submitted previous written comments expressing my concerns about the Whole Foods Plaza. That's not why I'm here, but it's background to the sense that I am absolutely livid and outraged that an out-of-town attorney from a made-up organization that has not disclosed its membership is threatening to sue my town and its council as it proceeds with its legal obligations to review this project. I think that he has shamed his profession as an attorney by not revealing his clients and by threatening, I believe groundlessly, the town with a lawsuit that I and other residents of the town will have to pay to defend against. I believe that his clients are cowards for not revealing themselves. There is an attorney who is representing the neighbors and the residents in the area. They are known. He is known. He has done an admirable job, in my opinion, of representing them and their interests. I believe it is inappropriate for people to be lobbying an organization of government in an anonymous fashion. I believe strongly in the ability of people to lobby their government, but I believe it must be done with full disclosure of who is funding and on whose behalf they are speaking. I believe the public has a right to know that, and I believe groundless lawsuit threats against this town are out of line and inappropriate. I thank you for your time, gentlemen and ma'am.
Thank you, David. Since Mr. Snyderman mentioned the Whole Foods project, I do want to remind folks that we will continue to be receiving written comments on the draft environmental impact statement as part of our review of the environmental review of the project. under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. We will be receiving written comments through August 1st, next Monday at 5 o'clock p.m. You can submit them by email to myself or to the town clerk. You can drop them off in person at the town clerk's office, or of course, traditional snail mail. Is there anyone else that would like to address the town board? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Ben Wersinger, 104 Shoreham Drive. As you guys know, I head up the Clover area Neighbors United. And I agree with the first speaker in saying that there are certain organizations that do not speak for everybody in Brighton. But one thing I think it's important to realize is that what Save Monroe Org has done is sort of broaden the awareness of the specific proposal. So just because there are some feelings about the organization, I don't want you to discount some of the things that they have done. Specifically, I'm referring to the online petition that they've created that over nearly 500 people have signed. And I heard the developer 2 weeks ago mention that these are not real people and they're not real faces. So a distinction needs to be made that there are real people in Brighton that are opposed to the current scope of it. A lot of them have signed that online petition that Save Monroe had set up. So just sort of, I want you to be careful not to discount everything that Save Monroe Org has done as a result of whether there is legal proceedings going on or what. I'm not aware of any of that. The thing that I've noticed too in talking to people and trying to organize neighbors to sharing information is that a lot of times people feel disenfranchised with the process, and I don't blame the town board for this. This is part of the process with seeker. But it's hard for people with families and working families to pay attention to the agenda, to the meeting minutes, to review very lengthy documents, and specifically to show up and get up in front of a room full of people and share their comments. It's a very intimidating thing to do, and a lot of people are not comfortable doing that. So things like these online petitions allow them to have a voice when they're not comfortable always putting things in writing, coming up in front and speaking. Listen, I know how difficult this is just to stay on top of everything, let alone make sense of all the data. So please keep that in mind. Just a couple other things. Though I still haven't seen the Stantec report, I think everyone was copied on the neighborhoods review of the traffic report that is just concluded on the DEIS. And I'm hoping that you all read that and read some of the top line summaries, but just a couple thoughts here. The traffic study did not represent, as we know, did not represent the current traffic levels that exist on Monroe Ave, which is a huge deal, by as much as 50%. I know that should be old news by now. Also, the traffic study was not done with the rear access points closed, and as you know, that was something that we have been asking for, and the developer has agreed to. But the actual traffic study done in the DEIS to date had those rear access points open. Which, you know, when you hear neighbors talk about how we don't trust the developer, we feel that these access points are going to be open in the future. This is another example of why we feel that way. A couple other things. No baseline study was done that complied with the current zoning standards. So, that was a specific condition of the DEIS outline that said they need to create a scope that meets current zoning standards and then do a traffic study. That's helpful, one, to sort of see what that baseline is, but more importantly, to see, it's very hard for us to assess whether or not the value of the incentives and amenities if we don't realize the extent of what they're asking for. So just having that baseline, even if that's not what we or anybody is forcing them to adhere to, helps us value the other things that are in the proposal. A couple things. One of the biggest things that I think is a huge deal is that our traffic study concluded that the average delay exiting the plaza, it will be 2 to 3 minutes on weekday evenings and up to 8 minutes on Saturday peak times. And from what I understand, those particular that wait time is considered unacceptable. The other issue, and this is something you've seen a bunch of letters, and I've done my own calculations on, is the trip generation count, which we believe is severely underestimated, and that's what the traffic report also showed. It was based on the average grocery store size, somewhere between a Tops and a Wegmans. But it's important to understand that we're talking about a Whole Foods, which is a destination location that people from across the area are coming to. So using just an average of a grocery store is not enough. My calculations show that their counts on what Whole Foods could generate is off by as much as 80 to 100%. So we're talking serious numbers here. So I feel that the way that you should do those traffic counts, the trip generation counts, should be based on actual Whole Food customer data. So all of this kind of points to just general inaccuracies that we feel are in the DEIS and the DOT and our traffic study pointed out. But the bigger issue to me is really the lack of urgency to pursue the truth. If you've looked at the petition online, nearly 500 people have signed this. We have hundreds of more letters from folks in our neighborhood and various neighbors around that have voiced their concerns and have asked to pursue current zoning standards on it. Yet the developer continues to say that these people are not real. So all of these are being discounted. Existing traffic is off by 50%. Customer counts off by 75 to 100%. Yet the developers said that they would go back and investigate the data. So, and I'm not saying that I have the answers. I'm not saying that my count numbers are 100% correct. What they do point to is that there are serious issues with the information that's in the DEIS. And ultimately, I respect the board's right to make a decision, even if it means that I don't agree with it. But if you seriously consider this particular proposal that they have, you need to do so and realize that you're going against the wishes of the overwhelming majority of Brighton residents that have shown up at these meetings and have written the letters and have voiced their concerns for a plan that we feel is grossly misrepresenting the congestion that's going to arise. And the last thing I want to remind everyone, and this was in Mr. Bergdorf's email, incentive zoning is a discretionary process, so the developer has the right to apply, which we respect, but at any point the board can decline to proceed any further. The developer can resubmit under a traditional zoning, and that's what the majority of the neighbors and people and folks that are involved in this are asking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. I do just want to let you and anybody watching know we will be, as of the end of the day, August 1st, at the end of the time period for written comments, the comments that are included on the change.org petition, which I have read and am fully familiar with.
And we can cross-check those against zip codes and against folks. So I mean, I'm not advocating to take people that are fake or people that are not inside this area, because I know there's been comments. So.
We welcome comments, whatever the source, but we will include that petition with the comments as of August 1st, the end of the submission period for written comments, as part of the record of the seeker hearing.
Thank you. Do you have any idea what the next steps are after the process? We don't have to take too much time. But.
Well, it's, as I said last time, I don't want to, go down all of the potential hypotheticals. But the next, in the general course under seeker, the next step would be the preparation of a final environmental impact statement. Ultimately, that is a document that the town is responsible for, although the applicant can and generally often does play a role in its preparation, but it incorporates the comments that we've received and that we have generated ourselves, our consultant, our own individual comments. You've heard me say that I will be submitting comments, and I will. We have 45 days after the end date, but that is a timeline that can be extended by the town as lead agency if we determine that it takes longer to prepare and finalize that final environmental impact statement. So that would be, under the normal course of seeker, that would be the next step.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I do, by the way, I absolutely understand that the time of a town board meeting can be hard, particularly for families with kids. Nearly 50 people came and spoke that first night, and a number more the second night. We do appreciate that. We appreciate the people that submitted in writing. All of them, verbal, here at the meeting or in writing. They will be certainly read by all of us and taken into account. Is there anyone else that would like to address the town board during the open forum tonight? Hearing none, we will continue with our agenda. Let me get it back up on the screen here. Can I have a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye, and a motion to approve and file the town board meeting minutes for the June 22nd town board meeting and the special town board meeting to approve claims that was held on June 29th.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. As I noted, we have no public hearing tonight on any matter. I will note that in the agenda, you will see that written comments as a follow-on to the public hearing on the seeker review of the draft environmental impact statement of the proposed Whole Foods Plaza. Again, will be held open through August 1st. That's next Monday at 5 p.m. And there's a list here of correspondence that we received, I think, through Monday. But again, all correspondence that is addressed to comments to the draft environmental impact statement that we received from the time that the public hearing was open until August 1st, will be included in the public record of the DEIS. I've received 1 or 2 emails from folks that said I sent an email last year or early this year. Communications that we received before the public hearing opened are not part of the record of the draft environmental impact statement. So if you submitted something before that, it may not have been related to the draft environmental impact statement because that wasn't in the record at that point. But I do want people to understand that only comments generated from that time through August 1st will be included as part of the written record of the public hearing on the draft environmental impact statement. I also would note that the public hearing on the incentive zoning application itself, you alluded to in your comments, that analysis, the balancing, if you will, of the incentives and the amenities. That public hearing remains open and will be continued at a future date, and notice will be given of that future date. If there are no questions about all that, we'll move to communications. Can I have a motion to receive and file our communications this evening?
So moved.
Second.
We have a letter from Chief Henderson, and we have a letter from a resident regarding the parking and viewing of the July 4th festivities from Buckland Park. But Chief, your letter has those bittersweet
There's some pretty big
words.
implications. I received notice that 2 members of the police department, Julie Katavich, who has 19 years with the town of Brighton, 10 years previous to that in Wayne County, has filed an intent to retire in August. Many may know Julie. She's a DARE officer. She's involved in a lot of youth activities in the town, and she'll sorely be missed, and I wish her well in her retirement. The second notice I received was from investigator Mark Libertor. Mark has 26 years of service with the town of Brighton. He's one of our criminal investigators. And again, he's a staff member that's going to it's going to be a tough void to fill, but, you know, we'll move on, and hopefully we can get to both of these individuals at a town board meeting for recognition. But pretty long years of experience that, you know, I look at our profession back 20, 30 years ago is when the big hiring freeze occurred, and we're all hitting that retirement time, and we're starting to feel it down in the Brighton Police Department.
Well, Julie and Mark are two just great police officers, and they make the department proud. They make this community proud. Both of them, in, you know, the diversity of what they do as police officers, but all part of a broad community policing, effective, professional policing effort that we've had under your leadership and under your predecessor's leadership. We are going to miss those two, and I do hope that we can find a time that works for their schedules, not only for the town board, but for the community to recognize Mark Libertor and Julie Katavich for their service. I think we'll have
at least August 20th is the effective date for both, and I think there's 2 town board meetings in between. I'll try to get them at the first part of August to make an appearance. So.
Great, great. Thanks. Do you want, as long as we're, as long as we're talking about the department, do you want to talk briefly about the upcoming open house?
So next Tuesday, we've decided to have an open house. It's on a night that crime prevention and policing is going to be touted. It's called the National Night Out. We're not doing the National Night Out program, but we are opening our doors to the community. We're starting at 5 p.m. We'll do tours of our facility, tours of our vehicles. We'll display our tools of the trade. I think you'll be pretty impressed if you come and see our operation, see what the capabilities of the Brighton Police Department, our officers have. We'll show some technology. We had talked about body cameras. I can show the community how that works. You know, the officers will be wearing them. We'll show the data transmission area that we have, and our partners, the sheriff's office is agreed to participate with us. They're going to bring some specialty tools that we rely upon in our community, the bomb squad's there, and I'm trying to get confirmation on some other vehicles that the sheriff will bring in. All is welcome, and I know it coincides with an event for the town that starts a little bit later that night, so we are starting at 5 and we'll conclude about 8 p.m. and direct everyone over to Buckland Park for the serenade, Sunset Serenade. So that's next Tuesday.
Well, I'll certainly be at both of those events. You know, we've read, unfortunately, an awful lot in the past month or two about violence in our community and about, you know, the flip side of that, the dedicated service and the thanks that so many, both in this community with bringing, you know, gifts and food and the like to our police department, which we always say is never required but always appreciated, and pizza parties and the like in other communities. I think this is a great night, August 1st, 5 to 8. It's a great opportunity for the entire community to say thank you to our Brighton Police Department. You are the, in my mind, I may be biased, but the finest police department in New York State. You're a professional, dedicated, and community-centered department, and I'm grateful for that.
Not that I want to correct you, but it's the 2nd of August.
What did I say?
You said the 1st. But
2nd.
It's next
Second.
Tuesday, and
the line could be long. People may want to get there early, but it is the 2nd.
I'll wait a little late on Monday, but it's Tuesday evening, and my hat's off to my colleagues, the men and women of the Brighton Police Department. You'll see firsthand that night how exceptional they are, and how it makes me proud to be serving with them. So thank you.
Mark. We have a motion to receive and file those communications. Any further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Committee reports. Community Services. Chris.
Community Service met yesterday.
Monday.
Excuse me, Monday.
Now, we're all confused about
Yeah, we
Monday
sure
and
are.
Tuesday.
On the 25th of July, it was Monday. We moved it over a week. We have a pretty broad-ranging agenda. The items that we discussed, first we focused on the parks. Matt Beeman gave a report of where the parks stand and where he stands on the designating different parks for use of bicycling per se on the roadways there, or the trails. Also, we talked that the Corpus Glen Committee is being formed within the town. We're quite concerned about maintaining that as the jewel of our park system, and want citizen input there. There was a discussion from the Sublime at Corpus Glen to garbage cans and where they stood at the bus shelters, but we're into the nitty gritty, and we seem to be missing one there at the ESL the bus shelter up front of ESL. The farmers market talked about CFA grants that are being pursued. The traffic control box project is continuing, but being stalled a little bit by vacations here over the summer. It'll kick into gear later in August, I think. Dan Amon continues to look at the smoking policy for town properties. He's reviewed that with Council Gordon, and will next review it with the HR director. Similarly, Ramsey Boehner and Matt Beeman are looking at the park law in general to see what updating might need to be done. I was given the upcoming events and want to broadcast those, but as Mark indicated, we've got a summer concert on August the 2nd with the symphony focused on the Beatles, 8 days a week. Then on the 9th, Dave McGrath, and August 16th, Alyssa Trahan at the Pavilion at Buckland Park. Also the Brighton Rec 5K, Fun Fit Run, etc., is being run on Saturday, August 13th. Will you be there, Jason? Or
I'll try.
but I believe it forms up at Meridian Center Park. So those are the upcoming events on the rec calendar. Also, we started a discussion of what community service organizations exist in Brighton and how best to use their services within the town. We also talked about the recycling events that Louise has led us on so ably, and the fact now that the recycling vendors are now charging us, which in the past they paid us, and now given the cost of recycling, they're looking at 11 cents a pound for electronics and a charge for some 4 hours, or $400 for a 3-hour stint there with the paper shredding and such. So we're going to have to look at how we can continue those events, which we intend to, and we're going to make use of the Keep America Beautiful grant that we still have some money remaining, and we'll keep it up as long as we can. Next meeting is, gosh, because we're off cycle now, I believe it's the 17th of August, if I'm not mistaken. Bear with me just a moment. Yes, 9:30 a.m. Community Services will meet in the rec center at Brookside School.
Thanks, Chris. Jason, Finance and Administrative Services.
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met on Wednesday, July 20th, and on Thursday, July 21st, this past go-around. The reason why we met for 2 days, in fact, all 5 of us were there for these committee meetings, is because we went over the capital improvement plan. So the Finance and Administrative Services Committee discussed in detail with all department and division heads for their 2017 through 2019 capital improvement plan request, which is the roadmap of anticipated capital expenditures that we're going to need to make over the next few years. The town board will make recommendations at the next FASC meeting with regards to a final version of this plan, and it's anticipated that the town board will adopt the CIP for 2017 through 2019 at our August 10th meeting. In addition to going over the CIP requests, we also discussed each of the matters that will be discussed under new business at tonight's meeting. And our next meeting will be on Wednesday, August 3rd. We meet at 8:30 in the morning in the Stage Conference Room, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks, Jason. I thought the town clerk put it aptly before the meeting tonight when he commented to me that he ate 2 meals during the time that first Finance and Administrative Services
because of the
Committee went
length
on.
of the
Because of the
meetings,
length
not because
of the
I'm
meeting.
constantly
It
eating
started
meals.
before breakfast and ended after lunch. So I did get a kick out of that, Dan. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me how long that meeting was. And the next meeting is...
It's August 3rd, Wednesday, August 3rd.
Thank you. At
8:30 in the morning in the Stage Conference Room.
Thank you. Louise, Public Safety?
Public Safety has not met since the last town board meeting. The next meeting will be August 9th at 8 in the morning, downstairs meeting room.
Thank you. Jim, Public Works?
Public Works has not met since the last meeting, but our next meeting will be Tuesday, August 2nd at 9 a.m. in the lower level community meeting room.
A lot going on Tuesday,
Yes,
August 2nd.
A lot going on. Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you. New business, reading and approval of the claims. Jason?
Yes, Bill, earlier today I reviewed claims totaling $554,938.57. Notable claims included a payment of $95,967.99 to Espana Enterprises as part of the 2016 sidewalk repair program. Also to Young Explosive Corp. in the amount of $11,400, and that's for the fireworks services for our 4th of July celebration. And to the Office of the State Comptroller in the amount of $55,120.70, which represents the state and county portions of court fines collected in the month of May of 2016. The claims all appeared to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second. Okay. Any discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Jim?
Yes, the next item is the approval to appoint a particular person, to execute the mandatory agreement with the City of Rochester to support modified property easement terms and cost of sharing formulation concerning the Highland Park Canalway Trail Project. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This, of course, is a project we've talked about many times, a joint project of the city and the town of Brighton to construct a new trail running from the town park, connecting there to the Erie Canal Trail, northward through the town of Brighton and into the city of Rochester, where it will ultimately, just north of the U of R's River campus, connect with the Genesee Valley Trail. That will provide a great new commuter route for people commuting to the river campus or to downtown Rochester, but also an interesting new trail with some natural as well as some urban elements to it for cyclists and pedestrians. We're looking to begin work on that trail project before the end of the year. And this is simply to refine some of the cost-sharing arrangements between the town and the city, but I would note that most of the cost is paid for by grants. And we divide the rest between ourselves and the city of Rochester. Our share is a little higher, largely because more new construction is in the town, whereas much of the trail in the city will be located on existing city streets. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
The amendment, I understand, is simply on the protocol for acquisition of the easements rather than having the town do them first and then convey the city ones to the city.
Right.
We're each going to do them independently. That's a major focus.
Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner? Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Next, Jim.
Next item is to appoint a particular person as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, effective immediately through December 31st, 2020. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And the town board is proposing to appoint Michael A. Jones. We had several great applicants, but we appreciate all of you coming forward. But the motion would be to appoint Michael Jones to be a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
It was a pleasure to meet with him. He's got extensive expertise in the area, and it's just the sort of horsepower we always appreciate adding to a committee.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's, we are very, very fortunate here in Brighton to have so many skilled people willing to step forward and do that work. And thank you, Michael, and thank you, everybody that applied. Dan, please call the roll on that motion.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize change order number 2 with Espana Enterprises for work associated with the sewer department and the 2016 sidewalk district replacement program. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
When was the change order number 1?
We did a change order a couple of months ago, probably maybe 3 meetings ago, I'm thinking. If you recall, we initially, based on the pricing that we got this year, which was very attractive, we approved the initial quantity of sidewalk repairs. The first change order expanded that length of sidewalk repair. We do have quite an extensive, probably 2 years plus worth of sidewalks that we would like to get to, and we will continue to get to over the course of each year with our sidewalk projects. But we took advantage of the low pricing to do more this year. This relates to mostly the sewer work relates to sidewalk work that needs to be repaired based on work that was done to sewers and some related sidewalk district work. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Louise?
The next matter is to set August 24th, 2016, public hearing for proposed town code amendments. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
How many are there?
There's really one amendment, but it covers 4 basic areas. One relates to
Amusement devices?
amusement devices. One relates, it's an amendment to our property maintenance law
maintenance, yeah.
regarding graffiti. Then we have one that relates to the calculation of impervious coverage when the town requests a sidewalk or similar easement from a property owner. And then finally is one to modify our code provisions relating to handicap access ramps. We discovered over time that variances are often required. Variances are an integral part of zoning, and based on setback requirements, the needs of our residents who needed handicap ramps caused them to have to apply for variances. And we want to make our process a little more customer friendly. What would happen, it takes a couple months to get a variance approved, but these are folks that need a ramp now. They are coming home from the hospital, or a family member is moving in with them, or something like that, and they want to make accommodations to their home. They need to make accommodations now, so this will make it easier to do that. So those are the 4 topics that are in these proposed amendments. And again, the public hearing will be at our August 24th town board meeting. We have a motion and a second to set that public hearing. Any discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Matters of the town supervisor. I want to briefly talk about the budget. We've talked about that a little bit tonight, but we as we always do, we conduct a very open, transparent budget process, one that we want public input in, and I want to update the community on where we're at in that process. We've heard about the capital improvement plan. That is a 3-year plan that the town board rolls out each year, so we cover the next 3 years for major expenditures. As indicated, the board will be asked to vote on that CIP at our next meeting, August 10th, and at our Finance Committee meeting next week, we will be reviewing that and discussing your recommendations as well as the recommendations of the Budget Review Task Force. So, but at the same time, we will also be starting our process. We've already started our process for the actual operating budget for 2017. Department heads have submitted their requests. Are they all in now, Suzanne? Mostly?
Pretty much, yeah.
Mostly, good. But every year, the town holds 2 budget workshops. One this year will be August 10th, one August 17th. And at those meetings, the department heads are asked to present publicly their budget proposals to the town board and to the community. They're not public hearings, so we aren't taking public comment at those meetings, but they are open workshops, and we invite the community to attend. We will then, the Finance Committee will review those. The recommendations of the CIP for 2017 will be incorporated, although we will all have another opportunity to review those and see, how they fit in with our budgetary needs. And then we will have 2 budget hearings and take a final vote on the town budget, I anticipate, at our second meeting in October. That's important. That's the goal that we set for ourselves every year, so that whether we have a local election in a given year or not, the residents of Brighton, the taxpayers of Brighton, will know what their budget looks like before you go to the polls. We think that's important. We think the open process is important. The 2 public hearings that we hold are more than what state law requires. It requires 1. The whole budget workshop, the Finance Committee review process, all of that goes far beyond what state law requires in terms of openness. So it's a grueling process, but it's probably the most important thing that we do, maybe tied with public safety. We have an obligation to keep the community safe, but we also have an obligation to keep the community fiscally safe and fiscally sound, and that's an obligation that we take very seriously. So we will be reporting back on the budget and on the capital improvement plan, really at most of our upcoming meetings for the next couple months. But I wanted to let everybody know where we're at in that process, and I want to thank you, Suzanne, for the work, extra work you're doing this year on that budget review process, to our department heads for their submissions, and to my colleagues for the work that I know you're all going to be putting in reviewing that budget. So, and as I mentioned before, I'll say it one more time, we will be accepting written comments on the Whole Foods proposal through Monday, August 1st at 5:00 p.m. That's all I have. Ken, matters of the attorney?
I have none.
Thank you. Matters of the town clerk?
Not a matter for myself, but if Monday's morning event, the banner.
Oh, yes, thank you. Boy, the town has developed a new logo, and along with that, we have banners. We've had some nice banners up in the town for a number of years. We put some new banners up temporarily during our bicentennial year. But this coming Monday morning at 11 o'clock, I think 11 o'clock is the time, we will be unveiling in the 12 corners new banners. There will be 5 designs of banners. One, a welcome banner that you'll be seeing at several of the main gateways to Brighton. And then 4 other banners that work from strengths, work from some of the characteristics that Brighton is known for. I don't want to tip my hand totally. You'll have to come to the ceremony or look up on our polls as those banners are unveiled. But we'll be doing that on the morning of August 1st, right in the 12 corners, and I do want to invite the entire community to that celebration. Thank you for reminding me. How about anything for the clerk? Nothing?
Nothing this evening.
All right. Matters of the town board.
I have a matter, again, a personal matter, as I often share. Last year, it was the fire department. This year, I had occasion to call upon Steve Zimmer after a panic call from my wife that said our sewer was backing up in the basement, and was looking for Steve's expertise. He sent he sent a lot of expertise over in the with Tim Jason, who brought over a very large clean-out tool, and I was also, as my sewer backed up and flooded my basement, and but I also was impressed just the bravery of Tim. As he was whacking at the sewer cleanout cap, he asked had it ever been opened, and he noticed that it seemed to be frozen in place. And as he whacked it, you could see that the load in there was under pressure. And I said, Tim, do you want to?
Sure, you want to do this?
You want to step back, or I have a face mask for my power tools. And but no, he whacked at it as the Spartan that he was. Got it loose and did clear the blockage. Did notice that it was within my property line. Was part of my lateral, which is my responsibility. The town is not responsible to clear out your laterals, that being your connection to the main sewer. But at the same time, they are available on an emergency basis to come and do exactly what Tim did. The damage was fairly minimal. It's still wet though, 2 days later. Tim, I appreciate very much your help. And thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Chris, Tim is only one of our exemplary employees over there, and they sometimes they do rate hazard pay, or they should get hazard pay. And I'm only remiss that we couldn't have sent the new sewer truck over, the flusher, but that's still on order.
I was disappointed when it was a pickup truck parked in my driveway rather than the big blue. Big blue monster. Yeah.
In almost 37 years now that I've lived in Brighton, I've only had to make that call to the sewer department once. But like your experience, it's a great organization, and when they do come, they provide just outstanding and friendly.
They do, Bill, under the circumstances, and again, I'd like to remind everyone that if you have an emergency, you can call the sewer department 24/7, no matter what time of year. After normal business day has closed, the line does transfer to an answering service, 784-5280, and it'll ask you for highway or sewer. You press the sewer, extension, and they will contact our person on call that happens to be on call that week, and they will be the ones responding, and they will usually do that in a very timely fashion. And like you said, it's an emergency. That's what we're here for. We can get you over the hurdle, whether it's your problem or not, just to take away the emergency, which generally is somewhat of a public health concern because you have sewage backing up, and and then we'll give you the guidance from there.
Thanks, Tim, and thanks, Chris. Anything else from the board?
Yes, I just wanted to mention that I've been getting calls, and the people at the front desk has been getting calls as to when the next recycling events will be. So I just booked them for the shredding and electronics will be on October 15th, 2016, and the pharmaceutical will be the following Saturday, which is October 23rd, I believe. Correct?
22nd, I
22nd?
think. If the one is the 15th, a week later would be.
The 22nd.
And is that the
DEA?
The DEA.
Right, it's set by the DEA, yes. And that one will be from 10 to 2 here at Town Hall, but you can still take whatever pharmaceuticals you have and bring them to the front lobby of the police department any day of the week from 8 to 5, 9 to 5.
8 to 6.
8 to 6.
Business.
I will get it, yes. And the other, the electronics and the shredding will again be at the Ops Center down the street on Elmwood Avenue.
Thanks, Louise.
We should mention, there's no liquids on that drop box.
Right.
Quartz.
Or needles.
No liquids, no needles, that's right. Okay, Can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss information relating to an investigation and matters relating to the employment of particular people?
So moved. Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel.
Aye.
Councilmember Novros.
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. Have a great evening, and look forward to seeing you again at our next meeting, August 10th at 7 p.m. Have a great night.
Isn't there a song? Commissioners?